Welcome to the Computer Literacy Center's online instructional video about creating a cover letter using Google Docs. Cover letters are documents that usually accompany resumes during the job application process. They give applicants the chance to introduce themselves more personally and describe their qualifications in more detail than a resume could. My name is Eiley Cummings and I'll be guiding you through this tutorial. In this video, we are going to create a cover letter using Google Docs. We will use the WSU Career Services Cover Letter Guide as a reference to format our cover letter. We will create a letterhead with tab stops and a horizontal line to showcase our name and contact information. Input the contact information of the person whose job we are applying for. Write out paragraphs demonstrating our enthusiasm and qualifications for the job. And create a signature space for our letter. In addition to a resume writing guide, Career Services also offers a guide for writing cover letters. To get to it, first go to Career Services website, weber.edu/careerservices. Then click on Employment Resources. On this page, click the link for the Cover Letter and References Guide and open the guide. We'll be using this guide as a template for writing our own cover letter in Google Docs. Before we get started, it's a good idea to plan out what you're going to be putting into your cover letter. According to the cover letter guide, we should include a header similar to the one in our resume at the top of the page with our name and contact information. Next, we should include the contact information of the hiring manager or selection committee we're addressing and begin our letter with "Dear" and their respective title or name. Then comes the body of the letter. The goal here is to more personally present yourself and describe your qualifications. According to the cover letter guide, this should begin by showing your knowledge of and enthusiasm for the job you're applying for. You should then relate how your background makes you qualified for the position, using your resume as a guide to tie in such things as prior job experience, education, and other achievements. Finally, you should express your appreciation for the person who took the time to read your letter, indicate your desire for a personal interview, and inform the reader how to best contact you. Once this is finished, sign the letter and you're finished. It's as easy as that. To get started, open a blank Google Doc, then look at the cover letter writing guide. The guide uses narrow margins, so let's begin by setting those up in the File tab under Page Setup. Narrow margins are generally 1/2 inch, so that's what I'll change mine to. Now that we've done that, we're ready to build a header similar to the one found on the cover letter guide. This professional-looking header is called a letterhead, and it should include your name, address, and any other contact information you want your employer to have. Let's begin by typing our name at the top of the document. I'll be creating this resume for an imaginary person named Hank, so I'll start with his name at the top of the document. If you're creating this resume for yourself, though, you should type your own name here. Now let's center align this text and increase the font size of our name to about 24 points. To do that, highlight the text, then click on the Center Align option in the main ribbon. Now your text should be centered. To increase the font size, highlight the text, then click on the arrow next to the font size to the left of the bold option. You can click the plus sign until you reach 24 points, or you can click inside the box with the number and type in 24. That looks great, so now we're ready to move on to the contact information. First, start a new paragraph and decrease the text size to something more manageable. A 14-point font should work well here. Now left align your insertion point and type your address. Follow the instructions from before to get the correct size and alignment. If we want to set this up like the cover letter guide, we'll need to find a way to get some information onto the right side of our document. This is a perfect opportunity to use tab stops, so we'll type our email next to our address, highlight it, click in the ruler where we want the email to align and select Add Right Tab Stop. Slide it to the right margin, then press the Tab key before your email address and it'll right align. Hit Enter when you're finished and your email address will probably have a hyperlink added to it. You can remove this link if you don't want the formatting to show up when you submit your resume. I'll go ahead and do that before we move on by right-clicking on the link and then clicking Remove Link. Now, if you want to include it, put your phone number under your address, hit Tab, and use this last space to refer to your LinkedIn profile, your website, or some other relevant information. Hit Enter when you're done, and make sure you remove any hyperlinks here too. Finally, before we move on, we want to add that handsome line from the cover letter guide that separates the letterhead from the rest of the letter. To do that, position the insertion point at the end of the line of text above where you want the letterhead line. Now go to Insert and click on Horizontal Line. There should be a line under your letterhead now. Now we're ready to get started inputting the contact information of the person or people we're writing our cover letter to. Place your insertion point below the border of your letterhead, then hit Enter one more time to put a little more space in there. If you have it, you should include the person's name, title, company, and address. If you're missing any of these things, just input the information you do have and move on. Start your letter with Dear and the person or committee's name. Again, if you don't have this information, something like Dear Hiring Manager or Dear Selection Committee will do. Now comes the part where we actually write the letter. This should be formatted without paragraph indentations and with some space between paragraphs. If you need suggestions on what content to include here, reference the cover letter guide or check in with WSU Career Services. We're just about finished now. To format the letter closing like the cover letter guide, type something like Best Regards, Sincerely, or Yours Respectfully, then hit the Enter key 3 or 4 times and type your name. This should leave you enough space to sign your letter after you print it out. Finally, look over your cover letter, proofread it, and adjust things as necessary. You may want to adjust spacing or font size if there is a lot of blank space at the bottom of the page. In this tutorial, we used Google Docs to create a cover letter similar to the one found in the Career Services Cover Letter Guide. We created a letterhead using tab stops and a horizontal line, inputted the contact information of the person whose job we were applying for, wrote out paragraphs demonstrating our enthusiasm and qualifications for the job, and created a signature space for our letter. For more information about Google Docs and other computer literacy topics, visit our website at weber.edu/clc.